What if I told you that the most powerful creative minds in human history, the builders, the visionaries, the architects of empires, did not wake up extraordinary? What if their genius was not born in a moment of lightning, but built brick by brick, morning by morning, through something as simple and as revolutionary as a daily routine turned into a sacred ritual? What if the difference between the person who merely survives each day and the person who creates masterpieces from thin air is not talent, not luck, not privilege, but a single decision made before the sun rises? What if your morning cup of coffee, your quiet evening walk, your 5 minutes of silence before the world demands your attention? What if all of those ordinary moments were actually doorways to extraordinary vision? What if you have been sitting on a gold mine of creative genius your entire life, but nobody ever handed you the key? Today, I am going to hand you that key. Stay with me until the very last word, because what you are about to hear will not just change how you spend your day, it will permanently change how you see yourself, your purpose, and the magnificent creative force that has been sleeping inside you all along. What if the life you have always imagined, the creative life, the purposeful life, the life that feels alive with meaning and vision, was never actually far from you? What if it was hiding inside the very hours you have been living carelessly, automatically, without intention? What if the transformation you have been searching for was not waiting at the end of a long journey, but was available to you this very morning, this very evening, in the exact moments you call ordinary? Let me shake something loose in your mind right now. Every single day you are given 86,400 seconds. Every single one of those seconds is a seed. And what you do with those seeds, how you plant them, how you water them, how you protect them, determines whether your life grows into a garden of extraordinary creative vision or remains a patch of dry, unattended ground. Most people hand those seconds away without a thought. They wake up reacting. They move through their day responding. They fall asleep exhausted, having created nothing, having planted nothing, having moved no closer to the magnificent version of themselves that they sense, somewhere deep inside, is absolutely possible. But here is the truth that will separate you from that crowd forever. The daily routine is not the enemy of creativity. The thoughtless daily routine is the enemy of creativity. Because when you take that same routine, those same waking hours, those same quiet moments, those same spaces between one task and another, and you infuse them with burning desire, with deliberate thought, with a vivid and unshakable vision for what you are building, you do not just have a routine anymore. You have a ritual. And a ritual is something entirely different. A ritual is intentional. A ritual is charged with meaning. A ritual is the daily act of becoming who you have decided to be. Now, let us talk about where all creative vision truly begins, because this is where most people get it dangerously wrong. They believe creativity is spontaneous. They believe it strikes like lightning, unpredictable, random, visiting the chosen few and ignoring everyone else. That is one of the most expensive lies ever told. Creative vision does not strike. Creative vision is summoned, and the summoning begins with something called definiteness of purpose, the most important mental discipline a human being can develop. What if you woke up tomorrow morning, and before your feet touched the floor, before you checked your phone, before the noise of the world poured into your consciousness, you spent 60 seconds holding one clear, burning, specific vision of what you are creating with your life? Not a vague hope, not a wish floating in the fog, but a precise, vivid, emotionally charged picture of exactly what you intend to build, to create, to contribute, to become. This single practice, this 60-second act of definiteness of purpose, performed with absolute conviction every single morning, is not a motivational exercise. It is a neurological command. You are literally telling your brain what to look for, what to notice, what creative opportunities to surface from the ocean of information surrounding you every day. The mind that knows exactly what it wants becomes a magnet for every idea, every connection, every resource that can bring that want into reality. The mind that wanders without purpose collects only noise. Here is what happens inside you when you practice this with consistency and fire. Your reticular activating system, the filtering mechanism of your brain, begins to prioritize information that serves your declared vision. You will start noticing creative solutions in conversations you would have previously ignored. You will start seeing opportunities in problems that would have previously defeated you. You will start connecting ideas across entirely different fields in ways that produce genuine originality. This is not magic. This is the mechanical, reliable, magnificent result of telling your mind every morning with absolute certainty what it is working toward. Definiteness of purpose is not inspiration. It is the factory that manufactures inspiration on demand. But declaring your purpose is only the first layer of this transformation. The second layer is what happens when you understand the terrifying and thrilling power of your own imagination. Not imagination as a childhood fantasy, not imagination as daydreaming, but imagination as the most sophisticated creative instrument ever placed in a human being. There are two forms of imagination that must become part of your daily ritual, and understanding both of them will unlock doors in your mind that you did not even know were closed. The first is synthetic imagination. This is the imagination that takes existing ideas, existing knowledge, existing experiences, and rearranges them into something new. Every inventor who ever lived used this. Every entrepreneur who ever built something from nothing used this. Every artist who ever created a masterpiece used this. They did not pull their creations from empty space. They took what existed, and through the power of deliberate, purposeful imagination, they arranged it differently. The second form is creative imagination, and this one will genuinely disturb you in the most wonderful way. Creative imagination is the faculty through which your conscious mind makes contact with a field of intelligence that exists beyond your individual knowledge and experience. This is the source of what people call hunches, flashes of inspiration, sudden knowing, divine downloads. And the astonishing secret is that this faculty only becomes active when the conscious mind is stimulated by a burning desire and operated at a very high rate of vibration. What does that mean practically? It means that when you feed your mind with a passionate, emotionally charged vision every single day, when your routine becomes a ritual of intentional mental energy, you do not just get smarter about your chosen field. You begin to receive ideas that seem to come from somewhere beyond your stored knowledge. You begin to solve problems in ways that surprise even you. You begin to create things that feel like they were given to you rather than constructed by you. This is the territory where genuine creative vision lives, and it is available to you the moment you decide to operate your daily life at that level of intentional energy. Now let us talk about one of the most underestimated forces in the entire architecture of creative vision, the force that either builds your ritual or destroys it before it begins. And that force is the company you keep every single day. What if I told you that your creative ceiling is not determined by your talent? What if I told you that the upper limit of your vision is set, unconsciously, automatically, invisibly, by the average of the minds you spend the most time around? This principle is one of the most shocking and most liberating truths available to any person who is serious about building a life of creative power. Think about this with me. When you spend your daily hours surrounded by people who are comfortable with mediocrity, who mock ambition, who dismiss big ideas as foolish, who have made peace with limitations, their thinking penetrates you, not through argument, not through force, but through daily, casual, invisible exposure. Their frequencies become your frequencies. Their ceilings become your ceilings. Their vocabulary of impossibility becomes the language your own mind begins to speak. This is happening to millions of people right now who cannot understand why their creative energy keeps dying before it produces anything. But the reverse is equally true and exponentially more powerful. When you deliberately, intentionally engineer your daily environment, your reading, your conversations, your associations, the voices you allow into your mind through books, through recordings, through the people you seek out, to include minds of higher creative frequency than your own, something remarkable begins to happen. You begin to think thoughts you could not have produced alone. You begin to see possibilities that were invisible to you before. You begin to operate from a creative baseline that was previously beyond your reach. This is not about social climbing. This is about spiritual and intellectual engineering. It is about understanding that the mind, like every other living system, grows in the direction of its environment. Choose your mental environment as if your creative life depends on it, because it absolutely does. And now we must enter the territory that most people are afraid to discuss seriously, the territory of the subconscious mind. Because if you do not understand this dimension of your daily ritual, everything else you do will produce only a fraction of its true potential. Your subconscious mind is not a storage unit. It is not simply a place where memories go to sleep. Your subconscious mind is the most powerful creative laboratory in existence, and it operates every single hour of every single day, including the hours when you are asleep, when you are driving, when you are washing dishes, when you are doing anything that does not require your full conscious attention. Here is the shocking, life-altering reality of how this laboratory works. It takes orders. But it does not take orders from your wishes. It does not respond to your vague preferences or your casual desires. It responds to thought patterns that are repeated with emotional intensity. It responds to images that are held with feeling and faith. It responds to instructions that are delivered with the voltage of genuine belief. Which means that every single day, through your habitual thoughts, through the emotions you repeatedly experience, through the mental images you consistently hold, you are programming this laboratory. You are setting its production schedule. You are determining what it manufactures for you. Most people are programming their subconscious minds with fear, with doubt, with repetitive images of failure and limitation. Not because they want to, but because they are not paying attention to what they are feeding it. They wonder why creative ideas never come. They wonder why the vision they have for their life never seems to materialize into action. And the answer is that their internal laboratory has been receiving instructions that directly contradict the life they want to build. The moment you take conscious control of what you feed your subconscious mind, through deliberate visualization, through emotionally charged affirmation, through the intentional repetition of your creative vision morning and night, the laboratory shifts. It begins producing what you have ordered. It begins solving problems while you sleep. It begins delivering ideas at moments you did not expect, in forms you could not have consciously constructed. This is why the ritual of your daily routine must include specific, dedicated moments of subconscious programming. Not long, complicated sessions, not hours of elaborate practice, but consistent, emotionally alive, vision-rich moments where you speak to the deepest part of your creative intelligence and tell it exactly what you are building. The subconscious mind has no sense of humor about this. It does not distinguish between real and vividly imagined. Feed it your vision every single day, with feeling, with certainty, with the emotional experience of already living what you are creating, and it will work on your behalf with a power that will astonish you. But none of this, not the definiteness of purpose, not the activated imagination, not the engineered environment, not the programmed subconscious, none of it functions without the fuel that drives the entire system, and that fuel is faith. Not faith as a religious concept alone, not faith as naive optimism. Faith as a mental state, a deeply cultivated, daily practiced conviction that your creative vision is not just possible, but inevitable. Faith as the vibration that transforms a thought into a blueprint, and a blueprint into reality. What if I told you that the reason most creative visions die is not lack of talent and not lack of opportunity, but the slow, daily erosion of faith through the repeated application of doubt? Every time you look at your vision and say, "But how will this actually happen?" Every time you compare your current position to the distance between you and your goal. Every time you allow the cold logic of your current circumstances to override the warm certainty of your creative intention, you are not being realistic. You are being destructive. Because the creative process does not begin with a plan. The creative process begins with an unshakable belief that what you are building already exists in potential form, and that your daily actions are simply the physical expression of bringing it into visibility. Faith applied to a daily ritual creates something that no amount of strategy or technique can replicate. It creates momentum, the kind of momentum that builds invisibly for weeks and months before it suddenly becomes visible to the world. It creates what appears to the outside observer as sudden overnight success, but what the visionary who built it knows was the accumulated result of hundreds of ordinary days made extraordinary by faith, by purpose, by intention, by the daily practice of treating their routine as a sacred act of creation. And so I want to speak directly to you now. Not to the version of you that has been surviving, but to the version of you that knows, deeply, certainly, in the part of your being that cannot be fooled, that you were designed for something more than going through the motions. That version of you knows there is a creative fire inside you that has not yet been given the oxygen it deserves. That version of you has felt the frustration of having a vision that refuses to disappear no matter how many times life tries to convince you it is not possible. Here is what I want you to take from everything spoken today and carry into your very next morning. Your daily routine is not neutral. Every single hour of every single day, you are either building your creative vision or you are eroding it. There is no in between. There is no pause button. The ritual of creative vision is not something that requires a perfect life or extraordinary circumstances. It requires only a decision, made clearly, made firmly, made with the understanding that you are the architect of your own mental world, to begin treating your daily hours as sacred materials from which a magnificent creative life is being constructed, one moment at a time. Begin tomorrow, with purpose held in your mind before anything else enters it. Spend time every day deliberately feeding your imagination with the vision of what you are creating. Engineer your mental environment to include the frequencies of people and ideas that expand your creative ceiling. Program your subconscious mind morning and evening with the emotionally alive picture of your vision already realized. And above all, protect your faith. Protect it the way you would protect a flame in the wind, with both hands, with your whole body if necessary, because that flame is the source of every creative achievement you will ever produce. The ritual is waiting for you. It has always been waiting. All it needed was your decision to begin. What we have explored today is not a collection of motivational ideas. What we have explored is a complete architecture of creative living, a system so precise, so reliable, so powerfully aligned with the deepest laws of human potential that anyone who applies it with consistency and faith will find their daily life transformed beyond recognition. We began with the understanding that creative vision is not a gift bestowed upon the lucky few. It is a practice. It is a discipline. It is the result of intentional daily choices made with a burning sense of purpose. We traveled through the power of definiteness of purpose, understanding that the mind which knows exactly what it wants becomes a creative force of extraordinary precision. We uncovered the two dimensions of imagination, synthetic and creative, and discovered that both can be activated and exercised daily to produce results that appear miraculous to those who do not understand the system. We confronted the invisible but absolute influence of our daily associations and understood that our creative ceiling is largely set by the average frequency of the minds we allow into our space. We entered the magnificent territory of the subconscious mind and learned that it is not a passive storage system, but an active, creative laboratory that must be deliberately programmed with vision, emotion, and faith. And finally, we claimed faith, not as a vague comfort, but as the essential fuel without which no creative vision can survive contact with the friction of daily reality.